Prince Ali, fabulous he, Ali Ababwa.
It's a miserable day here in Vancouver. It's rainy and windy and cold, but that's okay. I've been spending a lot of time in the magical world of Agrabah. I watched the 4K Blu-ray of the Disney classic of Aladdin, the animated classic, but I've also been able to watch the 4K Blu-ray of the 2019 live-action Aladdin, starring Will Smith, Naomi Scott, and Mena Massoud. I didn't enjoy this movie that much when I saw it in the theaters because I could not remove my attachment and my memories and my association with the genie character specifically from my love and adoration for Robin Williams and his performance as the animated genie. I think Will Smith did a competent job, but he just couldn't match what Robin Williams did. And one of my main criticisms when I watched this in the theater for the first time was that they evoke so much of what was a part of that animated classic with the blue genie. They could have changed things around to kind of adapt it even more so for Will Smith, although there are lots of Will Smith-isms in his performance. Now, did I have as tough a time getting through this the second time, especially after just having watched the animated classic? I have to be honest, after watching this movie again, especially after watching the behind-the-scenes stuff, I have a much better appreciation for all of the work that's in this movie.
Brush up your Friday salon, then come and meet a spectacular coterie.
I don't think it's perfect, and I think one of my main criticisms with the film now, after sort of diving deeper into it, into the story of building it, is that Disney did this too soon. They pulled the trigger too soon. And Will Smith is a great choice. I love Will Smith. He's amazing. He's an amazing actor and incredibly versatile and so charismatic. And if you're going to create a character that, has roots in animation and is incredibly animated and is also CG animated and has to be larger than life, Will Smith is the guy that you go to. But I don't think it would have been a big problem for Disney or the filmmakers for them to wait a while to make this movie. It's made a ton of money. It's a massive success. I think it's the biggest movie that Will Smith has ever been in. And I can't fault that audiences love this movie, and there's a whole generations of people that never saw the animated film. This is their first exposure, and they love it. But I feel like if they had waited another, 8 to 10 years, and it's a 60-year-old Will Smith, I don't think that's a problem. He's so physically fit, and he's so big and boisterous. Maybe he'd have a few more lines on his face, but I think that would just give him more character and more chops, more things to kind of play with whenever he would jump into this role. But more importantly than that, I think the CG of this genie would have been served better by a little more distance and a little more time and more learning from the visual effects community out there at sort of emulating a real human in a more realistic way, even though this is a blue genie, than they were able to achieve with Aladdin in 2019.
The deal is in the detail.
It's not that it's bad, it's just that it's such an obvious effect and it's so in your face and you're constantly taken out of it, I am anyways, that this is a CG Will Smith. And it doesn't look exactly like Will Smith. It doesn't have every kind of facial mannerism. It's not complemented by the fact that we get the real live action Will Smith popping up in some of the scenes, and I like him better when he isn't the Blue Genie. I mean, he's got some fun songs as the Blue Genie, but he's obviously more comfortable. He's more human as the human Will Smith than he is as this Blue Genie. Go figure. So I feel like if they had waited, the technology would have caught up with it, and we also would have had even more distance from the seminal Robin Williams performance. A lot of us old diehards that love the classic would have been more open to receiving this remake, this live-action remake, and they would have had a bunch of other live-action remakes that probably would have done quite well for Disney to validate this whole enterprise.
Prince Ali, mighty as he, Ali Ababwa. Strong as 10 regular men, definitely.
There is a lot to love in this movie. First of all, it's beautiful. The songs are incredible. They stand the test of time. I think they're performed better in the animated movie. Not crazy about the new song that Naomi Scott sings, although she's a great singer and she's a great performer. This new song that she sings, Speechless, it's an okay song. It just, even though, it's a lot of the same composers and, all of the sort of same musical talent is a part of this movie, for some reason it just doesn't feel like it clicks in with the rest of the songs in the score.
I won't be silenced, you can't keep me quiet, won't tremble when you try it, all I know is I won't go speechless.
Maybe because it's new. Maybe if I watch it again, I will like that a little bit more. There is also a deleted song that you see in the behind-the-scenes extras that I actually really liked, where Amina Massoud and Naomi Scott are singing a duet, even though they're not together. I thought that was really nice. I like the set pieces. I think Guy Ritchie is a fun director, and he's got some interesting choices in there. I'm not crazy about his speed ramps with the music, and they spend quite a bit of time talking to him, and he's sort of talking about 18 frames per second and 36 frames per second, and forcing Mina Massoud, who does a competent job. This is his first big role, and you're gonna play Aladdin in Aladdin. Go for it and sing your songs. But he had to sing his songs at double speed and half speed in order to match up with these crazy speed ramps that Guy Ritchie was throwing at him.
Oh, hey. Don't mention it.
And, honestly, when I watch his performance, I feel it. I feel the weight of the responsibility and all of these weird quirks and the stunt stuff that they had to do and the floating on a CG magic carpet and knowing that they had blue screen all over. I mean, you can see it all in the finished picture, and then you really get to feel it when you get the behind-the-scenes stuff. But it's incredibly charming, The thing that I loved about watching watching the movie again and then watching the making of stuff, is they knew they were crazy. They knew that this was just this could have been the most massive failure. And it didn't turn out that way. It's turned out to be a massive success. But they were very worried about that. And it's very apparent, I think. I can feel it in their performances, but you can absolutely see it on their faces. They're rallying, and it's not like they're miserable. It's just they're nervous. They're feeling it. They're feeling the weight of this. This is not small, man. This is not small potatoes. This is a very recent animated film that everybody loves, and they had to recreate it.
Sometimes you just have to take a risk.
They did a pretty good job. All things considered, they did a pretty good job. The production design is incredible. The lights and colors and the flashy action bits and the performances are pretty solid. Not crazy about our new Jafar. I felt like he was too whiny and too wimpy compared to Jonathan Freeman, who they should have just cast as Jafar. It would have been amazing to have the guy. He's on stage doing the stage show. Why didn't they just bring him and make him Jafar in this movie? That would have been the way better choice. I also think it's crazy that it's Alan Tudyk as Iago the parrot, and you can't tell that at all. Gilbert Gottfried was such an important character in the animated movie, and then Alan Tudyk, who's such an awesome actor. We love him in lots of things. Firefly, he's the voice of K2SO. He's so good, and they just totally dropped what he could have brought to the role. But, that's tempered by Billy Magnuson, who's got a great little sliver of a supporting role in there. He's hilarious. That actor, he's a standout actor. He's a scene stealer in whatever movie you see him in. And Nassim Pedrad is fantastic in this movie, and there's a real charm in the scenes between her and Will Smith. I think that this cast is actually really quite adorable, and they really went for it, and they did everything that they were asked, and what they were given was an impossible task, and for most people, clearly, it was great.
Fellas, he's got 75 golden camels. Now the ladies.
I actually would like to see a sequel to this movie, because I liked everybody, and I liked a lot of the elements of this movie. I just could not forget the animated work, and this doesn't hold a candle to that animated work, but it's certainly enjoyable, and it's certainly a massive spectacle. I honestly feel because it's made so much money and everybody kind of justified the efforts here, Disney will back up more of this if they want that. If they want to say, look, let's further the adventures of Aladdin and let's see the genie again. I'm fascinated by the idea of a sequel which lets performers go off in brand new directions, and because this movie has made some pretty sizable dollars, I think Disney would maybe even up the budget and we'd get even better effects and more interesting visuals. So a sequel kind of excites me, and maybe some brand new songs, which would be rad.
Everybody help me out. He's got a zoo, I'm telling you. It's a world-class menagerie.
So I didn't hate it this time. I wasn't as angry. I think I was a bitter, angry old man the last time I reviewed it, and I certainly didn't feel it this time. You have to watch the making of stuff when and if you watch this on home video. I watched it in 4K. The transfer was great. The sounds are great. Didn't sound as good as the animated movie, though. So I think this is solid. And if you love this movie in the theater, you're going to totally want to have this in your home collection. I'm glad that I do. And let's see what Disney does from here. These are very interesting days where we're seeing a lot of beloved work kind of revisualized for us. I'm going to give the 2019 Aladdin on 4K Blu-ray a 7.5 out of 10.